Samantha had always been a fighter. As a single mom raising her 6-year-old son, Liam, she worked tirelessly to provide for their modest life. Between waitressing shifts at a diner, cleaning offices late at night, and freelancing online during rare moments of downtime, Samantha rarely slept more than 4 hours a day. Despite her exhausting schedule, she never complained. Her priority was Liam, to give him the best childhood possible, even if it meant sacrificing everything else. But life wasn't easy. Bills piled up faster than she could pay them, and her old car constantly needed repairs. On particularly tough days, Samantha wondered how much longer she could keep going. One evening, as she tucked Liam into bed, he looked up at her with sleepy eyes. "Mommy, are you tired?" he asked innocently. Samantha forced a smile, brushing his hair back gently. "No, sweetheart. I'm fine. Just promise me you'll always work hard and take care of yourself. Okay?" "I will," Liam replied, yawning before drifting off to sleep. As Samantha turned off the light, she felt a mixture of pride and heartache. She wanted nothing more than to shield Liam from the struggles they faced. But she also knew that teaching him resilience was one of the greatest gifts she could give. Little did she know, a chance encounter looming on the horizon would change both their lives forever. The next morning, Samantha woke up earlier than usual. She had an important job interview scheduled, a position that promised stability and benefits, something she desperately needed for Liam's future. Her heart raced with a mix of hope and anxiety as she prepared for the day ahead. Her old sedan groaned in protest when she started it, but it eventually sputtered to life. "Please hold together just one more time," she whispered, patting the dashboard like it might respond to her plea. For the first few miles, everything seemed fine. But halfway to the interview location, disaster struck. The engine gave a loud clunk before dying completely, leaving Samantha stranded on the side of a quiet road. "No, no, no," she muttered, gripping the steering wheel tightly. She tried restarting the car multiple times, but it was useless. The battery was dead, and there wasn't enough fuel to coax it back to life. Panicking, Samantha glanced around. There were no gas stations or repair shops nearby, and calling a tow truck would take too long. She'd miss her interview for sure. After several minutes of frustration, she noticed a sleek black luxury sedan pull over behind her. A well-dressed man stepped out, his polished shoes crunching against the gravel. "Are you okay?" he asked, approaching cautiously. His voice was calm and kind, putting Samantha slightly at ease. "My car broke down," she explained nervously, gesturing toward the hood. "I have an important appointment, and I'm already running late." The man nodded thoughtfully. "Do you need a ride somewhere? I'd be happy to help." Samantha hesitated. Accepting rides from strangers wasn't something she usually did. It felt risky, especially as a single mom, but desperation outweighed her caution. "That's very kind of you," she said finally, forcing a polite smile. "If it's not too much trouble, I'd really appreciate it." "Not at all," the man replied warmly. "Let me grab my keys, and we'll get you where you need to go." As they drove away, Samantha couldn't help but feel a twinge of guilt. The contrast between her worn clothes and the man's expensive suit was glaringly obvious. Yet, despite his apparent wealth, he treated her with genuine respect, something she hadn't experienced often in her struggles. During the ride, conversation flowed naturally. The man introduced himself as Daniel but didn't elaborate beyond that. Instead, he focused on learning about Samantha, her work, her son, and her dreams for the future. "You're doing an incredible job balancing everything," Daniel remarked sincerely. "It's not easy being a parent, let alone doing it alone." Samantha shrugged modestly. "It's just what moms do, right? We figure things out somehow." Daniel chuckled softly, impressed by her humility. "Still, it takes strength to keep going when life feels overwhelming. Don't underestimate how remarkable that is." Samantha looked out the window, touched by his words but unsure how to respond. They arrived at her destination moments later, and she turned to thank him. "I can't tell you how much this means to me," she said earnestly. "I don't know what I would have done without your help today." "It's no trouble at all," Daniel replied, smiling. "If you ever need anything again, here's my card." He handed her a simple business card with only a phone number printed on it. Before Samantha could ask more questions, Daniel waved goodbye and drove off, leaving her standing curbside with a sense of wonder and lingering curiosity. Little did she know, this brief encounter was about to set off a chain reaction that would transform her life in ways she never imagined. As Daniel drove away, his mind lingered on Samantha. There was something deeply compelling about her quiet strength, her unwavering dedication to her son, and the way she carried herself despite obvious hardships. She hadn't asked for charity or complained about her situation. Instead, she simply focused on finding solutions, even when the odds were stacked against her. Daniel had spent years building his empire, surrounded by people who admired his wealth rather than his character. But Samantha's humility reminded him of a simpler time, a time before success became synonymous with isolation. For the first time in years, he felt genuinely inspired by someone else's resilience. He glanced at the rearview mirror, watching as Samantha disappeared from sight. Though their interaction had been brief, it left an indelible mark on him. He couldn't shake the feeling that he needed to do more, to help her in ways that went beyond giving her a ride. Meanwhile, Samantha arrived at her interview, still processing the kindness of the stranger who had helped her. The sleek sedan, the tailored suit, the expensive watch, all signs pointed to Daniel being someone of considerable means. Yet, there was no arrogance in his demeanor, no sense of entitlement. Instead, he exuded warmth and sincerity, qualities she rarely encountered in her daily struggles. The interview itself went well. Samantha impressed the hiring manager with her determination and work ethic, earning high praise for her ability to multitask under pressure. By the end of the meeting, she felt hopeful. An opportunity like this could change everything for her and Liam. But as she walked back to the bus stop afterward, reality set in once again. Even if she landed the job, how would she afford car repairs? How long could she keep juggling multiple roles without burning out completely? Her thoughts drifted back to Daniel. Who was he really? And why had he gone out of his way to help her? Later that evening, as Samantha tucked Liam into bed, she found herself staring at the business card Daniel had given her. It was plain, almost unassuming, just a phone number written in elegant font. Something about its simplicity intrigued her. "Maybe I should call him," she murmured aloud, though she quickly dismissed the idea. "No, I can't impose on him again. He already did so much." Still, curiosity gnawed at her. What kind of person drove such a luxurious car yet treated everyone with such genuine care? Unbeknownst to Samantha, Daniel had already begun taking action. After dropping her off, he called one of his trusted assistants, instructing them to discreetly investigate Samantha's circumstances. Within hours, they uncovered the full extent of her struggles. Mounting medical bills for Liam, overdue rent notices, and countless hours spent working low-paying jobs just to stay afloat. "What do you want us to do?" his assistant asked cautiously during their follow-up call. "Take care of everything," Daniel replied firmly. "Pay off her debts, cover her son's medical expenses, and ensure her car is repaired. Do it quietly, no fanfare, no strings attached." His assistant hesitated. "Are you sure? This isn't exactly protocol." "I'm aware," Daniel interrupted, his tone leaving no room for debate. "Just make it happen." Over the next few days, Samantha began noticing strange changes in her life. First, her landlord informed her that all outstanding rent payments had been settled anonymously. Then, her mechanic called to say her car was ready, free of charge and running better than ever. Finally, her son's doctor confirmed that his medical bills had been paid in full. At first, Samantha assumed it was some sort of mistake. But when she double-checked each instance, the truth became undeniable. Someone was helping her, and sparing no expense in doing so. Confusion gave way to gratitude as Samantha tried piecing together clues. Who could have done this? Her mind kept returning to Daniel, the mysterious stranger who had offered her a ride. Could he be responsible? She debated calling him but ultimately decided against it. If he was behind these acts of kindness, she didn't want to embarrass him or seem ungrateful. Besides, accepting help felt different this time, not like charity but like a lifeline extended with pure intentions. For Daniel, watching the impact of his actions unfold was deeply rewarding. He wasn't seeking recognition or thanks. He simply wanted to ease the burden for someone who deserved better. Knowing that Samantha could now focus on building a brighter future for herself and Liam filled him with a sense of purpose he hadn't felt in years. One evening, as he sat alone in his penthouse office overlooking the city lights, Daniel reflected on the encounter. Wealth had brought him power and influence, but it hadn't always brought fulfillment. Helping Samantha reminded him of why he started his business in the first place, to create opportunities for others. She's remarkable, Daniel thought to himself, smiling faintly, and she doesn't even realize it. Little did either of them know, their paths were destined to cross again, this time under very different circumstances. Samantha spent days trying to wrap her head around the sudden changes in her life. Each unexpected blessing felt like a miracle. Her car repaired, her debts cleared, and her son's medical bills paid off. For the first time in years, she could breathe without the constant weight of financial stress pressing down on her. But with relief came questions. Who was behind these acts of kindness? And why had they chosen her? Samantha replayed every interaction from recent weeks in her mind, searching for answers. The only person who stood out was Daniel, the stranger who had given her a ride. Still, she hesitated to reach out. What if it wasn't him? What if she misinterpreted his intentions? She didn't want to risk embarrassing herself, or worse, seeming ungrateful for the help she'd received. Meanwhile, Daniel monitored the situation discreetly, ensuring that all arrangements were carried out smoothly. He instructed his team to remain anonymous, knowing how important it was to preserve Samantha's dignity. While he wanted to see her reaction firsthand, he understood that stepping back allowed her to process everything on her own terms. One afternoon, Daniel decided to check in personally, not as a billionaire CEO, but simply as the man who had offered her a ride. He called the diner where Samantha worked, asking if she was available for a quick chat outside during her break. When Samantha heard his voice over the phone, her heart skipped a beat. "Daniel?" she asked, unsure whether to feel surprised or relieved. "Yes, it's me," he replied warmly. "I hope I'm not interrupting anything." "No, not at all," Samantha said quickly, her tone softening. I've been meaning to thank you for the other day. That ride saved me." "Well, I'm glad I could help," Daniel responded modestly. "Listen, I'm nearby. Would you mind meeting me outside for a moment? There's something I'd like to discuss." "Of course," Samantha agreed, intrigued. They met outside the diner a few minutes later. Daniel stood leaning against his sedan, looking as composed as ever. Samantha approached cautiously, unsure what to expect. "I won't take much of your time," Daniel began, gesturing for her to sit on a nearby bench. "But I wanted to ask, how have things been going since we last spoke?" Samantha hesitated, weighing her words carefully. "Honestly, better than I ever imagined. A lot has changed recently, good things, but I can't explain why or how." Daniel studied her expression, noting the mix of gratitude and confusion in her eyes. He considered revealing his role but ultimately decided against it, at least for now. "I'm glad to hear that," he said sincerely. "Sometimes, life throws us unexpected blessings when we least expect them. All we can do is embrace them and use them to build a better future." Samantha nodded slowly, absorbing his words. "That's exactly what I'm trying to do, for my son. He deserves stability, and I finally feel like I might be able to give it to him." "You will," Daniel assured her confidently. "You're stronger than you realize, Samantha. Don't forget that." As their conversation continued, Daniel subtly planted seeds of encouragement, urging Samantha to pursue opportunities that aligned with her talents. "You mentioned freelancing online during our ride," he recalled. "Have you thought about turning that into something more permanent? With your skills, you could go far." Samantha sighed, shaking her head slightly. "It's hard to imagine leaving jobs I depend on right now. Stability feels fragile. I don't want to risk losing it." "I understand," Daniel replied gently. "But sometimes taking a leap of faith is worth it." If you're ever ready to explore new possibilities, let me know. I'd be happy to point you in the right direction. His offer caught Samantha off guard. Was he hinting at something larger? Or was this just another act of kindness from a generous stranger? Before she could probe further, her break ended, and she reluctantly excused herself. "Thank you again, Daniel," she said earnestly, "for everything." "You're welcome, Samantha," he replied with a warm smile. "Take care of yourself and your son." Over the next few weeks, Samantha continued piecing together clues about her mysterious benefactor. Every lead pointed back to Daniel. His subtle hints, combined with the timing of the changes in her life, left little doubt in her mind. Determined to uncover the truth, Samantha mustered the courage to call the number on his business card. When Daniel answered, she wasted no time getting to the point. "Daniel, I need to ask you something," she began nervously. "Were you involved in helping me recently? Paying off my debts, fixing my car, covering Liam's medical bills?" There was a brief pause before Daniel responded. "Yes, I was," he admitted quietly. "But please don't think of it as charity. I saw someone working incredibly hard to provide for her family, and I wanted to make sure nothing stood in your way." Tears welled up in Samantha's eyes as relief washed over her. "Why would you do all of this for someone you barely know?" "Because people like you deserve a chance to thrive," Daniel replied simply. "And because I believe in paying it forward. You inspire others just by being you, Samantha, even if you don't realize it." Samantha struggled to find words, overwhelmed by gratitude. "I don't know how to repay you." "You already have," Daniel countered firmly. "By raising Liam with love, by facing challenges with grace, and by inspiring me to remember what truly matters." The conversation ended with Samantha promising to honor Daniel's generosity by continuing to work hard and make the most of the opportunities he had provided. Though she still felt unworthy of such kindness, she resolved to prove herself through action, not just for her sake, but for Liam's. For Daniel, the experience reaffirmed his belief in compassion as a force for change. By helping Samantha, he had reignited his own sense of purpose. A reminder that true success wasn't measured by wealth but by the lives touched along the way. Samantha couldn't stop thinking about Daniel's confession. Knowing he was behind the life-changing acts of kindness filled her with gratitude, but it also stirred a deep sense of responsibility. She didn't want to feel like she owed him anything. Instead, she wanted to prove that his faith in her wasn't misplaced. Over the next few days, Samantha threw herself into her work, determined to show Daniel and herself that she could rise to the occasion. Her freelance projects began gaining traction, earning praise from clients who appreciated her creativity and reliability. At the diner, her warm personality and tireless work ethic made her a favorite among regular customers. But despite her progress, questions lingered in her mind. Who exactly was Daniel? Why had he chosen to help her out of all the people he encountered every day? The more she thought about it, the more curious she became. One evening, while researching online during a rare moment of free time, Samantha stumbled upon an article titled, "The Man Behind Carter Enterprises: How Daniel Carter Built a Billion-Dollar Empire." The accompanying photo confirmed what she'd suspected. Daniel wasn't just a wealthy man. He was one of the most influential CEOs in the country. Her jaw dropped as she read about his accomplishments. Founding a global technology company, revolutionizing industries, and earning accolades for innovation and leadership. Yet what struck her most was how little the article mentioned his personal life. There were no mentions of family or hobbies, only vague references to his quiet dedication to improving lives through his business ventures. Samantha sat back, stunned. The kind stranger who had helped her was not only a billionaire but also someone whose decisions impacted millions of people worldwide. It seemed impossible that such a powerful figure would take notice of someone like her. A struggling single mom working multiple jobs just to get by. And yet, he had. The realization left Samantha conflicted. On one hand, she felt immense gratitude for Daniel's generosity. On the other, she wrestled with feelings of inadequacy. How could she possibly repay someone so far above her station? Would he expect something in return? Determined to find answers, Samantha decided to confront Daniel directly. She called him again, this time asking if they could meet in person. "I need to talk to you," she explained when he answered. "About everything." Daniel agreed without hesitation, suggesting they meet at a quiet cafe near downtown. When Samantha arrived, she found him sitting at a corner table, sipping coffee and reading a book. He looked up and smiled warmly as she approached. "Hi, Samantha," he greeted her, gesturing for her to sit. "You sounded serious on the phone. What's on your mind?" Samantha took a deep breath, gathering her thoughts. "I did some research after our last conversation," she began cautiously, "and I discovered who you really are, or rather what you've accomplished." Daniel nodded, unsurprised. "I figured you might eventually put two and two together. Why didn't you tell me sooner?" Samantha asked, her voice tinged with frustration. "You let me think you were just someone ordinary." "I am ordinary," Daniel replied softly. "My title or bank account doesn't define me. It's what I do with them that matters. Besides, I didn't want you to feel intimidated or obligated to thank me." "But why me?" Samantha pressed, tears welling up in her eyes. "There are so many others who deserve help more than I do." "That's where you're wrong," Daniel countered firmly. "You've faced hardships most people would crumble under, yet you keep going for Liam, for yourself, for everyone around you. That takes courage, Samantha. Courage I admire deeply." His words brought a lump to Samantha's throat. For years, she'd seen herself as nothing special, just a mom trying to survive. Hearing Daniel describe her as courageous made her see herself in a new light. "I don't know how to repay you," she admitted quietly. "You already have," Daniel repeated, echoing his earlier sentiment. "By inspiring me to be better, to use my resources to make a difference. You remind me that success isn't about titles or money. It's about lifting others up." As their conversation continued, Daniel revealed more about his motivations. Growing up, he'd witnessed firsthand how small acts of kindness could change lives, including his own. His parents had struggled financially, relying on neighbors and community members to help them through tough times. Those experiences shaped his belief that wealth came with responsibility, the duty to give back and create opportunities for those in need. "I've spent years building my company," Daniel confessed. "But somewhere along the way, I lost sight of why I started it, to make a difference. Meeting you reminded me of that purpose." Samantha listened intently, moved by his honesty. Though their worlds were vastly different, she realized they shared something profound, a desire to create a better future for the next generation. "I want to earn my success," she said finally, her voice steady. "Not because I don't appreciate what you've done, but because I owe it to myself and Liam to try." Daniel smiled, clearly proud of her determination. "Then let me help you succeed on your terms. I'd like to offer you a position at my company, not out of pity, but because I genuinely believe you'll thrive there." Samantha hesitated, weighing the opportunity. Accepting meant stepping into a world she knew nothing about, but it also meant proving to herself that she was capable of more than survival. "I'll accept," she said after a long pause, "but only if you promise to let me work hard for it. No shortcuts." "Deal," Daniel replied, extending his hand. "Welcome to the team, Samantha." Samantha's journey at Carter Enterprises began humbly. Starting as an administrative assistant, she quickly proved herself through her diligence, creativity, and ability to connect with people. Her colleagues admired her work ethic, often remarking on how she brought a sense of warmth and authenticity to the office, a stark contrast to the corporate environment they were used to. Daniel kept a close eye on Samantha's progress, offering guidance when needed but giving her space to grow. He encouraged her to take on projects that aligned with her strengths, particularly those involving community outreach and employee support programs. "You have a unique perspective," he told her during one of their check-ins. "Use it to make our company and our communities better." Samantha took his advice to heart. Drawing from her own experiences, she proposed initiatives aimed at supporting struggling employees and their families. One of her first projects was creating a child care assistance program, ensuring parents could focus on their careers without sacrificing time with their kids. Another initiative provided financial counseling services, helping workers manage debt and plan for the future. These programs aren't just about solving problems, Samantha explained during a presentation to senior leadership. They're about showing employees that we care, that we see them as people, not just numbers on a spreadsheet. Her proposals were met with overwhelming approval, not only from Daniel but also from other executives who recognized the value of investing in their workforce. Within months, the programs launched successfully, earning praise from staff members and boosting morale across the organization. Liam, too, benefited from the changes in their lives. With Samantha's newfound stability, she was able to spend more quality time with him, helping him with homework, attending school events, and simply enjoying quiet evenings together. Watching her son thrive reinforced Samantha's belief that every sacrifice had been worth it. "Mommy, are you happy now?" Liam asked one evening as they sat on the couch reading a book. "Yes, sweetheart," Samantha replied, smiling warmly. "I am. And I want you to remember something. No matter what happens in life, always believe in yourself. Hard work pays off, if you're willing to put in the effort." "I will," Liam promised, hugging her tightly. For Daniel, Samantha's success became a source of pride, not because he had helped her, but because she had proven herself capable of greatness. Her resilience and compassion inspired him to expand his philanthropic efforts beyond the company. Together, they launched a foundation dedicated to supporting single-parent families, providing resources like affordable housing, education grants, and job training programs. At the foundation's inaugural gala, Samantha stood beside Daniel as they addressed a crowd of donors, volunteers, and beneficiaries. "This is just the beginning," Samantha said, her voice filled with emotion. "We've all faced challenges, but together, we can create opportunities for those who need them most. Thank you, Daniel, for believing in me, and for giving me the chance to pay it forward." The audience erupted into applause, moved by her sincerity and gratitude. As years passed, Samantha rose through the ranks at Carter Enterprises, eventually becoming head of the Community Impact Division, a role specifically created to honor her contributions. Under her leadership, the company became synonymous with compassion and innovation, setting new standards for ethical business practices worldwide. Daniel, meanwhile, found renewed purpose in mentoring others like Samantha, individuals whose potential might otherwise go unnoticed. Their partnership demonstrated that true leadership wasn't about titles or power. It was about collaboration, empathy, and mutual respect. Looking back on their journey, both Samantha and Daniel realized how much they had grown. Not just individually, but together. What had started as a brief encounter on a lonely road had blossomed into a lifelong friendship rooted in shared values and unwavering support. Because sometimes, the simplest acts of kindness, like offering a ride or lending a hand, can lead to extraordinary outcomes. And in the end, it's not about wealth or fame. It's about the connections we forge and the legacies we leave behind. If Samantha and Daniel's story inspired you, share it with others. Let us know in the comments. How has kindness or opportunity changed your life? Your stories inspire us to keep creating tales that matter.